Crypto Tutors, Crypto Tutors, Crypto Tutors. Hey,
It's a way. Making money in my sleep? Making money in my sleep.
Every single time we kick off the Crypto Tutors produced Crypto Couch, of course we have to play the Crypto Tutors song. Of course we have to talk about making money while we sleep. That's why we have Stefen here today, the president and CEO of the Caribbean Blockchain Alliance, who is going to be sharing his knowledge and his wisdom so we can hopefully transform that into wealth, which is actually, Stefen, I don't know if you know, but the Crypto Tutors mission is to simplify cryptocurrency and blockchain through e-learning, one-on-one tutoring, and edutainment, which is why we're producing the Crypto Couch. We make it fun, we make it relatable, and we highlight people like you to humanize crypto and blockchain so that folks that look like us can see people that look like you are leading the charge when it comes to where crypto is and blockchain is today, but ultimately where it's going. I wanted to highlight a bit about your background, right? You are a Bahamian economist, and you have become over the years an authority in blockchain. And I want to unpack that story. So, Stefen, tell us a little bit about how an economist went from that to being one of the frontrunners in blockchain and creating an entire coalition in the Caribbean where, might I add, my people are from Haiti. So, you know, we fall within that alliance. So we can talk about that offline, but I got to let people know what's what.
Makes sense. That's awesome. So I guess we'll just go through the whole thing, going way back. So my background, so I'm from the Bahamas, as you said. My background is in economics. I wanted to work in like public policy, economic policy, but I ended up going more into finance. So between just kind of working in the industry, I already wasn't the biggest fan of banking, traditional finance, all that stuff. I heard about Bitcoin in like 2011, kind of looked into it, but didn't really pay too much attention. And it wasn't until years later, actually, that I started understanding the blockchain aspect of it. I thought of it more as econ tech, which was kind of revolutionary to me. So that's when I just kind of dove in. And this is 2015, I'm just like trying to do as much research as I could, trying to understand everything. And then
so everybody was going to the beach and, kicking it, throwing back, their beers, their drinks, and you're like studying, voraciously reading about everything you can find related to blockchain and crypto.
Because everything was happening in real time. And that was also a year that, the people were using it for banking and trying to figure out how they could do it for land registry, agriculture, all these different kind of applications. So I was like, okay, wow, this is amazing technology. This is new groundbreaking stuff, and I would love to get involved. At that point, I still didn't really know how to yet. And it wasn't until a year later, I went to a conference called Tech Beach, which is in Jamaica. Excellent conference, by the way. Excellent conference. And I met one of the guys from bit.com, which I had been following a bit at the time, Gabriel Abed. And they actually were the first company, the first people in the Caribbean to really embrace the industry, the technology, and actually try to do something with it. So it was actually that.
So
was
shout out to Gabriel. Is that right?
Gabriel.
Shout out to Gabriel, putting you on. We put each other on the game. That's what we do at Crypto Couch.
This is what we do for our people.
That's right.
And at that point, it's like, yeah, these are people who are from the Caribbean, from my little region, and not just like the US, the UK, all that stuff. So I said, all right, and this is the point now. So between, him, a few others that we already knew, because that grouping was really small back then. Like 2016, early 2017, there were just a few of us who really were passionate about the space at that time. So we formed our little group, and that kind of blew up into, the Caribbean Blockchain Alliance community. So, and that's how we started out. And then my goal, and then I think, all of our goals really were to, formalize that community, go into education, go into, just try to create proper, proper industries, proper use of the technology throughout the Caribbean. So that led to where we are now, where we still have our community. It's grown quite a bit, as you can imagine. And now we have two mandates, one being education and the other being public policy. So education, as you can imagine, just trying to make sure people understand what the tech is, how it's being used, and then, which obviously connects with the other mandate, which is public policy, where we're trying to directly engage with, our governments, our regulators, and make sure that they, again, are aware and that they actually embrace the technology and embrace the industry, and make sure that the regulations or the laws that have to do with it are good ones, are ones that actually help us and what we're doing, and not just push it away, because some countries have really gone in the other direction and pushed, banning crypto.
Nigeria, for example.
And hurting industries, things like that. And that's what we don't want to happen. So what we're trying to do is, and education has to come first and foremost, but we're trying to do both pretty much at the same time. I'm first and foremost a blockchain advocate, which is why everything we do just goes back to promoting blockchain as a technology, as an industry, as an ecosystem. And that comes in various forms, right? Which is, as an advocate, I have to make sure that we are educating people, because nothing can get done if nobody understands what blockchain is to begin with. And of course, that takes time, that takes energy, but that's our main focus, because education is really what's going to progress everything that's going on, so that people can just dive in, people can add to it when they need to. So yeah, that's the heaviest part. And then outside of that, for the public policy aspect, we do a lot of regulatory engagement. So, reaching out to governments, reaching out to regulators, reaching out to, our own people in industry, and just connecting the two, so that, industry understands what the regulatory needs are, regulatory side understands what the industry needs are, and just to make sure that it's something that we can all do together in a as a loving, happy family, and not kind of in a hostile way. And a large part of that is just, for both of these, really, is just the talks that we do. So we do talks that, they're pretty regular. They're typically monthly. The last one we did actually was with the commissioner of the US SEC was gracious enough to come on and talk with us, along with
the commissioner of the United States SEC,
Security
you said?
Exchange Commission. Yeah.
Security and Exchange Commission. That's a big deal.
It's pretty big. And it was.
And they can find it on your YouTube channel.
It is on YouTube. If you go to the Caribbean Blockchain Alliance YouTube channel, it is there. We'll link that as well. But that was a great talk. We also had Trevor Forrest, who's the CEO of a tech infrastructure company and a blockchain architect. So it was a very great conversation with, the large US regulator and someone in the industry, but has done, kind of government advising as well. So just having that great conversation on what the needs are, how we can progress the ecosystem, how we can progress industry and everything. So in a nutshell, in a very large nutshell, that's what we do. We engage and we educate and we advocate.
What's really fascinating about it is that my interpretation of the work that you all are doing is really serving as a liaison between the public and the private sector, and doing so in a way where you're helping create conversations where there can be a dialogue and a discourse where, crypto and blockchain enthusiasts are able to help explain where and why this could be beneficial from a public standpoint and a government standpoint. So that's really critical. And I'm so happy to hear that also there's a cross-border scope and reach associated with the Caribbean Blockchain Alliance, right? Wanting to ensure that not just best practices for your native country of Bahamas, but spreading the love and the enlightenment associated with the use cases of blockchain and crypto across the Caribbean. And me as a Haitian, all I gotta say to that is biop, biop. which is kind of Haitian, which is kind of Jamaican of me, but I feel like the cross-border thing is working for you. So I might as well integrate it into my mix too.
Go for it. Yeah, that's exactly it. We're fully Pan-Caribbean. We need everybody involved. We need everybody to rise. Because I mean, if just two of our countries push up and the rest are kind of languishing, then what's the point? So we definitely believe in, unity. We believe in organization, coming together. Because the more you organize, the more powerful you are. And as a group of very small and very powerless islands and countries, we need that connection. We need to grow as a unit, as a brick, as a block, so that we can make sure that we have a voice in the ecosystem. So both inside blockchain and outside.
I love what you did there. You said as a block, because our whole topic is about blockchain. I saw what you did there. I just want to make
Comes
sure
together
everybody
so
saw it too.
perfectly. Block BLOC and BLOCK.
What's interesting about the work that you're doing from a public policy standpoint, I think that the Bahamas is one of the most progressive with respect to the adoption of crypto. And I'm pretty certain that you have your own cryptocurrency.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, and this has all happened, between end of last year, maybe going back a few years, you have right now the Bahamas, Barbados, and Bermuda, the three Bs, funny enough, that currently have—
Be cubed.
There you go. that have a kind of cryptocurrency or digital asset bill or law, or that plus, companies that come down who are working in the space, they have some kind of framework to go from. So you have those, and then you also have Cayman, that also has that. And the Bahamas actually is the first one to have a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, which is basically the one we have is called Sand Dollar. Mm-hmm. But what a CBDC is, what a central bank digital currency is, a blockchain-based fiat currency. So it's still completely tied to the central bank, completely tied to our actual dollar. So it's not a cryptocurrency, but it's a more digital version of our regular currency. And it's backed by blockchain, which means it has the same kind of benefits, such as auditability, traceability, and things like that. And it's fully digital. And that actually launched officially end of last year. And I know they're pushing like a whole education campaign this year. And the second one is—
Hold on one second, because we want to be mindful of the viewers who you don't even understand or are not familiar with the terminology. So like from a fiat standpoint, we're talking about, a dollar, we're talking about a euro, we're talking about a yen. So that type of sort of traditional currencies that most of us are familiar with. Or
one that comes from the government that you live in.
What was that?
One that comes like a currency that comes directly from the government or directly from the central bank, that would be fiat. So that's right. What your legal tender.
Thank you for clarifying. And so I'm going to be asking, to simplify some of the terminology. And another point that you raised with the Sand Dollar is the concept of a stable coin. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes a stable coin stable?
That's a good question. And
I'm smarter than I look.
But no, let's kind of add that distinction. So you have CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and then you have stable coins. They're very similar, but the only difference is stable coins are more likely to come from, and this is all just kind of titling and categorizing at the end of the day, right? Stable coins are more likely to come from, private companies or a bank or something like that, where it's very similar to a CBDC. It just doesn't have that kind of official ranking, I guess. But both of them, they are almost 90% of the time, well, almost 100% of the time, very tied to the dollar value. So it's one that doesn't change unless the dollar value changes. But most of the time it will be one. It will always be the same price.
1 to 1.
What happens. So that's the distinction, and that's what makes it so usable. And so because every cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin, it's very volatile. The price always changes. So it's always good to have something where the price won't change no matter what. And that makes it easier for people to get into it. That makes it easier for people to, park their wealth. If they don't want to deal with volatility, they can just have it. They can have some of their money in a stablecoin or in a CBDC. And the biggest benefit for CBDC here in the Bahamas, and also
that's CBC is central banking dollar?
Central bank digital currency.
Central bank digital currency. So when you use the acronym CBDC, you're saying
Right.
central bank digital currency.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yep. So, and this will be quick. The second one is actually, I believe the first payment launched last week. So there's a second central bank digital currency in the Caribbean now, which is for the Eastern Caribbean region, which again just launched. And so you have the Sand Dollar and you have the one in the Eastern, I believe it's called Dcash. They're both very new, and they're both kind of do the same things for, the Bahamas, which is an archipelago, which means it has multiple islands.
It's technically a chain of islands, but not to get technical, but this show is technical, so why the hell not?
You're right. And then the Eastern Caribbean, which, they're all different countries, but they're, they kind of interact in a very similar way as an archipelago in a way. And the benefit of that is just to increase the ease of trade, the ease of buying and selling. So all you have to do, instead of trying to, go to the bank, get money out and give it to someone, you could literally just pull out your phone, send an easy digital payment to someone who's on another island, and which means you don't have to go on a boat or go on a small plane just to get to them. And the fact also that there's a lot of de-risking happening. De-risking is mainly, very simply, the loss of banking relationships in a certain place, which means that some of our smaller islands, the ones with less people, a few of them actually don't have any physical bank where they live. So for them to get money, give money, send money anywhere, it's extremely difficult. So what the central bank digital currency does, it makes all that much easier, and in a way that they don't necessarily have to jump on a new technology fully. It's kind of a halfway point. It's more of a hybrid. So that it kind of brings them in without them fully having to, use a Bitcoin or use Ethereum or something like that.
And so, one of the use cases associated with the launch of crypto was, that those peer-to-peer capabilities. And what's interesting about, your governments in the Caribbean, like the Bahamas, like Bermuda, like I think Jamaica as well, as far as like the crypto blockchain adoption and being so open to it, is that, and we're going to dive deeper into blockchain, but the ledger, right, and the validation of transactions, the validity of transactions, because one of the challenges is that fraud runs rampant when
Exactly.
the transparency isn't as prevalent, isn't as present. And so I would love to learn from you a bit more about blockchain. What is blockchain, and how does blockchain prevent fraudulent practices? How is blockchain impacting the Caribbean, but how is blockchain impacting the world at large?
Exactly. And everything you just described is an excellent, intro to it, because the auditability and the fact that it is a ledger, those are two of the most important points. So if we want to break down blockchain as much as possible, all you have to do is think, and this will be easy for the accountants who are watching to understand. It's a ledger, quite simply, and a ledger is just something you use to track payments. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. So if you think of just the fact that going back in time, where accounting systems were kind of evolving, you had double entry accounting, which honestly revolutionized business, revolutionized trade, because it made things easier to track in terms of who owed what a debit was, what a credit was, and that literally just, and it sounds so weird when you think about it, because it's literally just numbers and how you write out the numbers, but that changed everything in terms of commerce and business. So what this is literally just, some people call it a triple entry accounting system. It's literally just a new kind of.
Write that down, folks. Triple entry accounting system. You are dropping tweetables. Hold up. We gotta let people process.
It's all new stuff, but it's amazing what you can do with it. So because you're just kind of adding, and that, so if you think of the same debit and credit, which is the double entry, the triple entry, you're adding more of the digital tracking aspect. The fact that, you know, for example, if I have a full account of all my transactions, all my payments, everything in a book, and I lose it or someone steals it, I'm left with nothing. And
your
there's the
SOL
added problem of,
because you know how you
Exactly.
Bitcoiners, blockchainers, crypto enthusiasts love your acronyms.
you know. But, and if someone steals it, it's like they have what you don't have anymore. And let's say you have like a password in that book, then they can just come in and take your stuff. But what this is doing with the blockchain, it's actually kind of interesting in a way that now all of your transactions are in, let's use the word traceable, but in a way where not anyone
There's a
can
digital
just,
trail.
exactly. And but it's not like, you know, anyone could come in and just look at everything you've done. It is kind of it's done with a pseudonym.
It's cryptographed.
Exactly. It's done with a pseudonym, so it's not like your name attached to it. But also that's an incredibly important point. It's all done through cryptography, meaning that it's all encrypted. It's all extremely secure. And that's, again, one of the most important aspects of blockchain. Someone can't just go in and break it because it's cryptographically secured. And it's also decentralized, meaning that the data is not just stored in one place. Mm-hmm. So for example, what you may see in, you know, whether it's a company, whether it's a startup or something, they'll have all the data, you know, in a server or in a physical place somewhere. And if someone gets access to that, just as we use with the book example, if someone gets access to what you have, then you're SOL, as you said. And what decentralization does, it means that information is scattered literally throughout the world, throughout multiple nodes of different computers globally that run the system, which means that if someone's trying to, you know, hack your data that's in a blockchain, they would have to hack your node and the thousands or hundreds of thousands of nodes that exist elsewhere, which again just adds to the security. So you already have this high-tech security, then you add the decentralization aspect. And I believe, and I can honestly say that blockchains, especially the very tried and true ones, like the Bitcoin blockchain, which is the most secure one, they are the most secure piece of technology that we have currently. Period.
Wow. And so, you know, for you, in terms of the motivation to, you know, get more involved in blockchain specifically, to the point where you created an entire alliance for a region, I would love to understand, you know, what was that aha moment that you had where you were like, I want to learn more, I want to apply this, I want to, you know, expand this across the region, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And I mean, that's an interesting question, because I think for me with blockchain, it wasn't one particular point. It was more like a series of aha moments where I saw, okay, this company is trying to use it for this purpose. This government is trying to use it for this purpose. This organization is trying to do this, such and such. And the more the different use cases came out, the more that the different applications came out, that would just solidify my desire to push for it. In addition to the fact that I was already researching it, understanding the technology, understanding how important and powerful the technology was. So both of these things are happening at the same time, and I'm just getting more and more to the point where, okay, I want to focus all my time on this this technology, in this space, in this industry, etc., throughout its various forms.
And so let's talk about use cases associated with the blockchain, because, I know you personally, and I know that you are a NFT collector, and I know that you are a crypto art enthusiast. And clearly without the blockchain, that wouldn't even be a remote possibility. So let's talk about some of the use cases associated with blockchain. Some that, we mentioned in the case of NFTs, but some of the more maybe novel aspects of how blockchain can be used.
Right. So I'll give an example that everyone in the Caribbean would understand really well. Think of the fact that for, I would say all, or at least almost all of our countries, our governments, everything is very fragmented. None of us use a truly high-tech system. For a lot of our countries, everything is still mostly done on paper. It hasn't been digitalized at all yet. So just think of that fact, and the fact that, if you want to go to the passport office, road traffic, or, our version of the DMV, national insurance, anything like that, you're literally there waiting forever because almost none of it is tracked. Well, it's tracked, but not tracked well. It's all, again, fragmented.
It's all manual.
It's
entirely manual. Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, it's analog. So just simple things like that shouldn't take long, take forever. And sometimes, records get lost, things like that, which makes simple things like doing business very prohibitive, which is to a large degree, a large part of the reason why things are just so slow, so hard to get done. So even this one particular use case of using blockchain to just kind of not just digitize all of that, but digitize and track it on one blockchain system, which means that your passport office could be connected to your road traffic, which could be connected to national insurance. And each one of those, there would be nodes in this example. Each one of those.
Oh, wait, let's pause there, because that's a term that most people may not be familiar with. So how would you, and what would you define a node as?
A node is just a computer in the system, a computer that's running the technology. So say, for example, in the same kind of setup, you have road traffic, you have the passport office, you have national insurance. Each one of those would be a node, or each one of those would have a node. And that node would be, it would be part of the system, or it would be where you go to make sure everything's trackable, everything's connected. So with that, you can literally go to one of them and get all of those things at once, or you can make sure that, something was paid, a tax, for example, or that, your passport didn't expire, or you can, make sure you can get everything done quickly and without having to sit down waiting for someone to go in the back, find your documents, maybe photocopy them. It would just make life so much easier.
Yeah.
And that's one of the smaller examples.
So, Stefen, now that we know that the blockchain is secure, how does it work in relation to financial transactions?
That's a great question. So if you think of, let's just go back to the Bitcoin example. Let's go back to the Bitcoin example and what Bitcoin really did. So whenever you do any kind of payment, especially digital, so let's just stick to digital payments, whether it's, with because most banks are digital now, right? In some degree, your credit cards are digital payments, etc. So any kind of digital payment that you have to do, or that you do, you have to go through a bank or through some kind of, PayPal or something like that. And that it's done that way because to verify a digital payment, it has to go through another entity. It has to go through your bank, it has to go through some kind of middleman at the end of the day, just to confirm and verify that these transactions happen. And the reason for that is because with digital transactions and digital files of any kind, they're very easy to copy, very easy to replace. So if I send you a song, for example, I still own that song, and now you have the song too. Because when you're sending a digital file, you're really just sending a copy of it. So if I wanted to do that with money, and I took like a digital dollar and sent it to you, I would still have that dollar. which means that any kind of transaction, any kind of, commerce or business that we're trying to do doesn't really work because I'm paying you, but it's not coming out of my actual amount of money. So, which of course makes it either very difficult to do any kind of digital payment, or it means that you have to have some kind of entity in the middle to process and verify these things. So what Bitcoin did was got rid of that issue, solved that issue completely, in the sense that, and what people call that is the double spend issue. The fact that I could take a digital version of $1 and give it to you, and then I still have it, and then I could just pay someone else at the same time. So I'm paying both of you with the same dollar, essentially, at the end of the day. So again, what Bitcoin did using the blockchain is get rid of that issue in a way where my transaction is verifiable to everybody in that ecosystem. So everyone knows that I paid you, 0.1 Bitcoin, and I can't go back and say, oh, I still have it, because it's clear, it is obvious that you have it now. And that it doesn't seem, it seems very technical. It seems like not a big deal, but it revolutionizes how digital transactions, digital payments, digital commerce works, because now you don't have to have a middleman. It's all done within the ecosystem. It's all done within the blockchain. And it just means that I could send something quickly to someone in Nigeria without having to worry about a bank verifying it, or having to worry about, someone else saying that I didn't pay, because it's literally right there in the blockchain, and it's auditable, trackable, verifiable. And that's
and fast.
And fast and censorship resistant, which means that nobody can go in and change it or lie and say that, oh, this is supposed to be something else, because you can't get into it. You can't break the system.
And so again, going back to the various use cases associated with blockchain, let's talk a little bit more about some of the maybe not as known, not as well known, some of the more maybe even progressive, like what does the future of blockchain look like?
Yeah, that was good. And let's just stick to the kind of public and private sector, but things that are more infrastructural. So for example, one of the big things that's happening right now is people using it for agriculture, for supply chain. And I think that one of the biggest things we realized, especially after COVID, is that supply chains are very fragile. And if you don't have, some ownership in aspects of that process, you'll be left out in the cold with no food, basically. Because if, for example, you get all your food from the US and something happens in the US where that kind of damages that system, you got nothing left. So you have to sit and wait and then basically try to fend for yourself. So what people are doing more is using blockchain to kind of control that supply chain aspect. One, just the idea of being able to track everything. So, if you get your fish from somewhere in Norway for some reason, you can just track all of that, and you can always see where it went. You can make sure that it wasn't tampered with. Or if you're exporting, you can basically do the same. Like the person in Norway that's buying our fish can check at every point, what middleman it went through, what the original company that fished in the first place. Like all of that can be trackable and traceable and verifiable, which is again an extremely important part of it.
That's so fascinating. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, in addition to that, there are other things that are very progressive in terms of. So if you take, I don't know if people are familiar with microgrids, but they're basically micro versions of the electricity grid that you can just have in your neighborhood, in your community. It's a system that kind of interacts with itself and builds upon itself. But what you can do is you can have a blockchain component on top of that, which again tracks and traces, who used how much electricity, where specific amounts were going, to make sure you're billing them properly, or to make sure people are paying the right amount that they should be paying. And the interesting part because you're tracking transactions and you're able to transfer that value, it means that, if I have, let's say I have, a large amount of solar panels, and my neighbor only has maybe one small solar panel, so I can generate a lot more electricity than he does. And what I can do is, say, for example, he or she may need more power. So instead of paying, maybe the national grid, they could pay me, and I could sell my electricity to them in a way that's, again, fully trackable, fully traceable, so we can make sure
there's that peer-to-peer dynamic you're seeing again.
And that makes it fully peer-to-peer. And that's what's great about blockchain, is that it can turn any interaction into a peer-to-peer interaction.
That's really mind-blowing, because when we also think about microeconomies and what are the economic engines that are enabling us, especially given the technological advances that are being rolled out, that are automating a lot of the jobs that humans historically have done. And so the challenge is, how do we prepare folks for this new economy, this get them, equip them with the right skill sets to generate, income in this new economy as it's rapidly unfolding. And so I really love that idea around how the blockchain can be leveraged to facilitate those micro economies. So let's talk, we covered a lot of ground, and a few other questions that I have related to you yourself and the region. What is the vision for the Caribbean Blockchain Alliance for the region?
Yeah, so that's a little complex, but even if we just focus on our mandates, education is pretty straightforward. We want to.
That's why you're partnering with Crypto Tutors. That's what I heard.
Right, exactly. We want to get education out there. We want to make sure people are learning and understanding. We have a lot of partners like Crypto Tutors that are pushing that as well. What we're actually focusing right now is blockchain clubs in the universities, which we use just to organize students, get them involved, excited, connect them with hackathons that are going around all over the world, and then again use that as a further launchpad for the actual curriculum aspect, getting courses involved and whatnot, so they can actually take these courses. And whether it's a regular school version, something online, there are multiple ways to go about it. But in addition to that, even just making sure we're educating people in the private sector, people in the public sector, government individuals, etc. There's a lot of work to do and a lot to be done in that sphere, because everyone needs that education, or at least enough people need that education so that it can kind of carry itself out and people can adopt and use the technology and build the technology even. And then on the public policy side, this is more of the regulatory engagement, the government engagement. Something we really want to see is just, given the idea that we have a few countries that I mentioned that are very on top of things right now and really pushing forward, but the Caribbean has a lot of different countries, and a lot of countries that aren't embracing the tech, aren't embracing the space. So we want to make sure to unite them really and try to get everyone on. Maybe it doesn't have to be the exact same page, but at least have them on a specific framework. So what we're hoping to do a bit more long-term is just to get these regulators together and build a regional regulatory framework that literally every country can use, or at least take parts from, so that we have a more standardized version of what we're doing.
And I'm really excited that we will be going to Haiti together in January. It's looking like, as a part of the a delegation to help facilitate the rollout of blockchain and really educate, so that the implications of blockchain are understood in a manner where it's like we can revolutionize the educational system. There are applications for blockchain, revolutionize the agrotech, energy utilities. I mean, it just really runs the gamut. And so it's exciting to see how you're realizing your mission, and the fact that you've been able to have such a tremendous impact already. The fact that you're in the Bahamas, which is where the sand dollar is. I'm sure it's no coincidence. And I commend you for the work that you've done and the work that you will be doing. So as a final thought, Stefen, I would love to just hear from you, one, where can folks find you? We want to make sure that you stay connected to the community and people know where to find you outside of cryptotutors.com because you're an advanced tutor.
Right outside of that. So definitely check out our website, Caribbean Blockchain Alliance website. It's cbahub.org. So cbahub.org. We have everything there. We're going to be adding some stuff to that soon. So definitely check that out and keep that in mind. Some exciting things are coming this year for sure. And then if you want to reach out to me, my email is stefan@cbahub.org, or you can find me on Twitter, where I always am.
Yeah, your Twitter's super lit, for the record. I had to turn off my notifications. I'm like, damn it, Stefen.
It's too much good stuff. I know, it's overwhelming. I know. That's Stefen Deleveaux. So it's STEFDELEV. Full. Just type that in.
Say that again. So the people for the people in the back.
Just type that in, you'll find me.
Awesome. We'll make sure that they know exactly where to find you. You'll see it on the screen. So please connect with Stefen. And then what final parting words do you have, right? Like, I would love to just wrap up today's conversation with some words of wisdom from you.
Yeah. So for sure, I mean, just understand, especially if you're new, that this technology is amazing and totally groundbreaking, world changing, all of that stuff. And then obviously there's a the crypto aspect, the wealth aspect, the buying and selling. That's important, but also think of the tech side and what the tech side can do for your country, your private sector, your public sector, because there's so many different aspects. So I would say as a one-liner, just do the research. Do the research for just try to suck up every kind of information you can get. There are a lot of great articles, a lot of very easy to read things on the blockchain space or different aspects of the blockchain space. So, and just be open-minded, because this is new stuff, but if you really kind of look into it in a way where you're just trying to be open to it, you can figure a lot out. And obviously check out our YouTube page, because we have a few videos there, and we're adding to that. Just great talks, great sessions and things like that. So for sure.
I was going to ask you, resource-wise, are there any other resources that you would want to point people to who are interested in exploring and learning and just wrapping their heads around what's happening within the space?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, I don't even know which to pinpoint. There's even just for new intro stuff, Jameson Lopp, who works in Bitcoin directly. He has just Google his name, Jameson Lopp with 2 P's. And it's like Intro to Bitcoin Jameson Lopp Bitcoin resources, I believe it's called. That has so many things. But there's so many, and they're so easy to find. Just look for anything to do with intro, and you'll fall into the rabbit hole and never come out. But you'll be a lot happier.
Yep, because knowledge is power. And at Crypto Tutors, we are committed to helping folks transform knowledge into wealth. And we couldn't do that without people like you, who are helping to demystify crypto. And on the Crypto Couch specifically, we're wanting to elevate the faces behind the technology. And so we're excited, Stefen, to follow your journey, to see where things go with the Caribbean Blockchain Alliance. And we're rooting for you. We're happy to have you in the Crypto Tutors ecosystem. And just know that, as I said to all of the viewers before, I will say it again, keep coming back to the Crypto Couch so that you can know who's running point on the industry, who's a part of the vanguard. What did you say? What?
Well, you call it the vanguard, and I love it.
It's true though, right? Because I think that, for me personally, right, I have a Sankofa tattooed on my wrist, which means go back and bring forward. And so in the vein of crypto and blockchain, I very much think that it's about, being in the future and literally going back to the present to bring people forward with us. And that's why, you know, I keep calling folks like yourself the vanguard. And we're grateful to have you. We're grateful to elevate you. And we're excited to see where your journey takes you. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up this crypto couch conversation. We can't wait to have you back on the crypto couch when it makes sense for you and your schedule. I know it's crazy today, but thank you everybody for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't, liked if you haven't, go through all of our videos, be a part of the community, because this is where we can't stop, won't stop, not to be biting Diddy, but this is where we can't stop, won't stop. This is where we simplify cryptocurrency and blockchain and help you transform knowledge into wealth.
Want to learn more? Visit cryptotutors.com.